What's up, guys? This is the Osmo.com night shift talking MLB for May 26th. That is a Saturday. We got two slates to talk about. We'll run through everything pretty quickly. We'll have content out for the main slate, rankings, ownership out for the early slate. As always, you can get all of those with your premium membership to Osmo.com. So check that out on our site. I know a lot of the subscribers have been very happy. It's very useful to me. So let's get into this. We'll talk early on DraftKings, leaving out that 1:05 Eastern game, starting with the 4:05 Eastern games. Let's go with Arizona and Oakland. We've got Clay Buchholz, blast from the past against Daniel Magnin. Buchholz, I mean, do we really think this guy has reinvented himself? I certainly do not think so. He's not going to start missing bats anytime soon, and that's really what I'm concerned about with the A's. So I like Lowry, Olsen, Chapman. I think you can definitely stack against Clay Buchholz on this early slate. Some wind blowing out. It's not great hitting weather, but 62 degrees, not going to deter me from stacking against Buchholz and the Diamondbacks. Magnin is 7,000. This guy is just overall confusing to me. He's got some big strikeout games in him, but his swinging strikes and whiff rate is pretty low. So against the Diamondbacks, I don't mind targeting most pitchers, and I think Magnin can take advantage of some of these Diamondbacks bats. They've just been so bad all year against righties, and so I mean, I can't really look to target much against Magnin either. Maybe a Jake Lamb for 3,800, but there's not much I want to target against him, so that sort of makes me want to play him for 7,000. Kansas City and Texas. Ian Kennedy versus Bartolo Colon. Kennedy's last three starts, he's allowed 9 earned runs, 5 earned runs, and 5 earned runs. He's got an 8.5% swinging strike rate on the year. Tons of hard contact and a great hitting environment in Texas where it's going to approach 100 degrees on Saturday. So the Texas bats firmly in play, a 5.5 run total. Joey Gallo has to be mentioned here. Nomar Mazara, Shin-Soo Choo for 4,100. All these guys in the $4,100 to $4,200 range. I don't love the full stack against Kennedy, even though I should for a 5.5 run total. Chirinos has big power. I mean, you can get to it, but individually, these guys are fine against Kennedy, but not guys that I necessarily love. The Kansas City bats I like against Cologne. Moustakas should be super chalky here for good reason. I like Alex Gordon if he's in. Some of the righties are certainly in play. Bartolo's been giving up a ton of hard hits to righties as well. Last year was much better at limiting hard contact against righties, but this year's been a different story, and that's probably because he's 45 years old. So Salvador Perez, Jorge Soler, just big power bats. If Colon misses his spots even a little bit, Merrifield and Soler and Perez can make him pay. So I'm home run hunting off Bartolo. No problem full stacking against him either. Toronto and Philadelphia. Jaime Garcia against Aaron Nola. Garcia not looking to play him here. Phillies are actually pretty decent against righties, or against lefties, sorry. So I like Rhys Hoskins for 4,300 against the lefty. I like Aaron Altherr for 3,500. Those are two guys that are always going to catch my attention. With the platoon split at those prices, Carlos Santana, same thing, 4,100. I think they're priced down because they were projected to face Biagini. So I don't know if Garcia is confirmed at this point, but regardless, if it's Biagini or Garcia, I don't really have interest in either of those guys, but it would change things. If Biagini were to go, I'd want more of the Phillies lefties, but Carlos Santana in play no matter what. Aaron Nola grades out as one of the best pitchers on the slate for me. He's got the swing and miss stuff going. He's going up against the Blue Jays, who they'll have 4 to 6 righties in the lineup. And I've got the Jays as an above-average matchup for righties. Nola's striking out 30% of righties. Yeah, I'm all over him here. It's super expensive, so I get it if you can't fit him in, but I'm going to try to fit him in for 12-2 on DraftKings and figure out the rest later. St. Louis and Pittsburgh, Jack Flaherty. going up against Trevor Williams. Flaherty's coming off just a phenomenal start against the Phillies, 13 strikeouts in 7 2/3 innings. He had a really good swinging strike rate, but he didn't get that many chases, so I wonder if he'll be able to duplicate those kind of swinging strikes. And he'll probably be popular just because of recency bias, and he's a favorite. He's on the road. I actually don't think this is a good matchup for him at all. He's giving up 50% hard contact to lefties, and then the Pirates have a lot of good ones that hit righties hard. So I actually might be looking to stack against Flaherty. I'd go as far to say that, which sounds kind of crazy. The guy just struck out 13, but I love Dickerson, Bell, Moran, Meadows, Gregory Polanco. So if I like a bunch of guys individually and they're all priced in the 4K range, then I'm going to look to stack them up. And I'm actually not seeing Meadows on the lineup now, and I see Starlin Marte. So if Marte can return, that probably means Meadows is going to get the boot. But anyway, I still like Pittsburgh bats. Not interested in Trevor Williams for 8,600. I don't mind some St. Louis bats against him. Williams is giving up a lot more hard hits to righties this year, and I don't really love the Cardinals stack, but Ozuna for 3,300 and Jose Martinez for 4,100 I like a little bit. White Sox and Tigers, Hector Santiago versus Francisco Liriano. No interest in the pitching here. The Detroit bats I like are the two power righties, Castellanos and Jacoby Jones. They just have huge power against lefties, so if you're looking for a possible home run, or I guess anyone's possible to hit a home run, but those two guys and John Hicks I think have the best chance to go yard off of Santiago. The White Sox bats, I mean, it's the power righties once again. Same thing with Santiago as Liriano. Liriano's giving up, or he's got a 5.51 xFIP on the year. Two righties. I'm not really on Moncada in this slate because I much prefer him against righties. But Matt Davidson, if he's in, Jose Abreu was just smoking lefties this year. So for 4,400, love him. If Tim Anderson's leading off, 3,500, that's a nice value bat there as well. Mets, Brewers, Jason Vargas and Chase Anderson. Vargas actually grades out as the type of pitcher that I would want to use here. He's got good swinging strike rate, good O-swing percentage. He does have a ton of trouble with hard contact, at least he has in his first couple starts. The last one against the Marlins, he gave up no hard hits according to Fangraphs. And the Brewers should be good against lefties, but you saw it with Steven Matz the other night. They're just like average, maybe even below average against lefties this year. They shouldn't be with Kane and Braun and Aguilar and Pena, but the numbers are the numbers. So Vargas I don't think is the craziest play here. That being said, I think Braun and Kane are both really solid plays, and that might be enough to scare me off of Vargas. Those guys are just really, really tough against lefties. So probably more likely to play Braun and Lorenzo Cain than I am to play Jason Vargas. Chase Anderson for 6,800. I've got him being pretty bad all the way around. It shows in his xFIP and the other stats that I look at. So I like a little bit of a Mets stack with Asdrubal Cabrera, Jay Bruce, and Michael Conforto. It seems like everybody's priced down, so pricing shouldn't be too big of an issue on this slate, unless you're playing Nola and another expensive pitcher. Washington and Miami. The Marlins, speaking of expensive pitchers, Tanner Roark for 11.4. I like the spot he's in right here, but I just can't pay 11.4 for Tanner Roark. Nothing really scares me in the Marlins lineup, so I won't be playing hitters, but cannot justify that price for Roark. Just not a guy with a lot of upside, even against the Mets, I don't think. Wei and Chen going for the Marlins. Chen hasn't given up a home run in his last 2 starts, but I think he could get lit up here by the Nationals. Just too many good righty bats. You got Rendon, one of my favorite plays on this slate, if not my favorite overall play. I think he's got a great chance to homer. And then Mark Reynolds has shown he can still hit lefties. Bryce Harper is Bryce Harper. You don't really have to talk about him. Trey Turner is hitting lefties really well this year, 5,100. Even like Michael Taylor near the end of the lineup, because Chen lets you hit the ball if you're a righty, so that should play into Michael Taylor's hands. So I like the Nat stack a ton here. Last game of the early slate, Baltimore and Tampa Bay. We've got Andrew Cashner going up against some Tampa Bay bats. Is not really a matchup I want to target. I think the Rays will score some runs, but I don't see them scoring enough to justify stacking. And the guy I would want against Cashner, CJ Cron, is 4,700. I guess Wilson Ramos is fine for 33 at catcher, but man, not really liking anyone in this game actually. So Ryan is going to do the Sergio Romo thing. He's going to be so the Sergio Romo thing, he's going to face the first few Baltimore hitters, and then it looks like Anthony Banda is going to come in. He's a lefty. He'll give up some hard hits, but I'm not really crazy about the O's stack. I guess I should mention Machado and Mancini. Those are 2 guys that I like against Banda, but that's really about it. Not much that's interesting to me at all about this game, or really that series in general. Move on to the main slate. Houston and Cleveland. Lance McCullers going up against Carlos Carrasco. Both these guys in the 11K range on DraftKings. McCullers a slight favorite as of now. He just went 7 innings, 8 Ks against Cleveland last week, so I have no problem firing him up again. He's one of the mini Astros starters that is striking out lefties at a higher rate than righties, which is interesting. Not really sure what's going on there in Houston. Carrasco on the other side, he had a good start against the Astros. These 2 teams played last week. So 6 days ago, he went 7 2/3, 6 strikeouts. I don't really want to target him here with that price against the Astros. I can't really justify that. I'd much rather play McCullers, just because I think McCullers has just as good, if not better, strikeout stuff, and he's $600 cheaper and favored and all of that. And he just struck out 8 in 7 innings. So I don't like bats in this game at all. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion, but that's really all I have. I like McCullers, not really into Carrasco. So let's move on. LA Angels and the Yankees. This is in Yankee Stadium, of course. Jaime Barria against Sonny Gray. Barria is 5,300, and I mean, when I first looked at this, just saw Jaime Barria against the Yankees, I was just going to full stack against him, or recommend a full stack against him, but after looking at some of the numbers over the last 2 starts, I almost want to consider playing him here over his last 2 starts. So they were at Coors Field against the Rockies, and then versus the Astros at home. He had a 14.6 and 13.5% swinging strike rate, over 40% O swing percentage in both. He's getting a lot of whiffs with his slider on righties, and that's sort of the Yankees' weakness, at least the power righties, Judge, Stanton, and Sanchez. So the changeup actually looks pretty decent against lefties. I don't know. I mean, it's enough to keep me from full stacking the Yankees and really playing the righties. Like, I might be off the Yankees for the most part. That might be my bold fade for this main slate. Not really loving the Yankees bats against Barria. Sonny Gray has been pretty bad all around. He was good in his last start against a tough opponent in the Royals. But still, I think he had 5 strikeouts in 8 innings. I don't really believe in him or his stuff, and I want to target against Gray with some of these Angels bats in a really good hitting environment. The low total will probably keep people off of most of the Angels bats, maybe outside of Trout and Ohtani. But they're expensive, and I think they have a chance to really get to Gray. So I'm all over this Angels stack with Trout and Upton, Ohtani, Kinsler, Andrelton Simmons. These are all guys that I'm going to consider playing, and I think the Angels will be a lot lower owned than they should be against Sonny Gray, who's still a big name, I think, in DFS, but not much respect for Gray. If I don't end up on the Angels, it might be because of this next game. Giants, Cubs, Chris Stratton against Jose Quintana. Speaking of guys I don't believe in, Stratton fits the bill. He still has 50% hard contact against righties this year, and then he's not very good against lefties. Kind of sucks against them. Can't really strike anyone out. I don't understand why anyone would want to play him. Certainly not in this spot, but kind of been saying that all year. Just one of my favorite guys to stack against. So I hope people continue to play him so that I can stack against him. The bats I like for the Cubs are Bryant, Contreras. I think those two are in a tier of their own as far as Cubs bats. And then Rizzo, Baez, Schwarber, Zobrist, really 1 through 6. I like them all, but especially Chris Bryant and Wilson Contreras. I think the Cubs are probably my favorite non-Coors stack. Quintana going for the Cubs. I'm not a huge believer in him either this year as far as him being a great DFS pitcher. It's a pretty good price, $8,100, but I am really worried about his hard contact. His K rate's under 20% against righties, hard contact over 40%, 165 whip against right-handed hitters this year. And then the San Francisco bats, I'm actually interested in McCutchen, Posey, and Longoria. Those guys are all priced very nicely on DraftKings, 3,400, 3,400, and 3,700. So I think that's a little mini stack that I like against Quintana, especially if he's going to be owned, which I think he should be here, just because of the lack of options and the Vegas total, and maybe a perceived better matchup than what it actually is, in my opinion. Cincinnati and Colorado, Tyler Mahle going up against Tyler Anderson, the two Tylers. Mahle throws 70% fastballs on the year, and Coors Field should not suit him very well. I think he's going to get clobbered by these Rockies. I see a 6-run total right now. It's supposed to be 92 degrees with wind blowing out in Coors. So unless Mahle changes something, I think he's going to get pounded here. So the Colorado bats I like are Blackmon, Carlos Gonzalez, David Dahl, Arenado, just a really great all-around hitter. And I just love the stack all around across the board. Tyler Anderson going for the Rockies. I love Anderson as a pitcher, and I actually use him in Coors Field time to time, but this is a spot that scares me a little bit just because of Eugenio Suarez and Adam Duvall. You've got some power righties. The weather is concerning, but Anderson makes some sense here on the short slate, $6,400 on DraftKings, and he's going to be super low owned. I believe in his stuff. He's got the good swinging strike rate. He's got the good whiff rate. And then Cincinnati, I think, is an all right matchup for righties. Obviously, it's a little bit different in Coors Field, but Anderson's going to be someone that I consider. He's someone on my short list of pitchers for the slate. But if you aren't playing Anderson, which might be a wise thing to do, Anderson's not an all-in play. I think he's someone I would get exposure to if I'm max entering. Then Eugenio Suarez for 4,900 I think is one of the best matchups of the night. Coors Field, huge power. If he gets a hold of one, I guess he doesn't even need to really get a hold of one. He's got huge power. He's probably got the best chance at a home run on this slate, probably on the day. Minnesota and Seattle, Jake Odorizzi going against Wade LeBlanc. Odorizzi's 9,400, and that's probably going to get people off of him. But in May, he's 18th in whiffs per swing percentage. He's getting a lot more chases. Swinging strike rates are way up. I don't really love the matchup against the Mariners, but now without Cano, obviously, and D. Gordon on the DL, it is a little bit softer of a Mariners lineup. Those are two lefties that rarely strike out, and now you put in guys like Heredia and Gordon Beckham, who will strike out, just two more right-handed bats. So I like Odorizzi, 9,400. He'll be in the spotlight pitchers, I'm sure. And I'm not on the Seattle bats. Wade LeBlanc has been really good at limiting the damage so far in his few starts. I'm not really ready to start playing him for 4,400. Although I guess against the Twins it wouldn't be the craziest idea. You've got a few lefty bats in there. It's a big park. He is favored, so he'll probably get some ownership. But I just don't really want to stack against him. I'm seeing Miguel Sano could return to the Twins lineup. I don't know what form he'll be in. He's going to strike out a ton because he's Miguel Sano. Also going to hit a bunch of home runs when he gets hot. The Twins bats that I like are actually Max Kepler. He'll be a spotlight hitter, so you can read about him. He's just been crushing lefties, not striking out against them. And LeBlanc isn't exactly a world beater against lefties either. San Diego and LA, this is the last game of the night. Jordan Lyles going up against Alex Wood. Lyles is not all that great of a matchup for the Dodgers bats. I mean, I could get behind Grandal and Bellinger, but Lyles has been pretty impressive. Someone that I think you can consider on the slate for 6,600 against a Dodgers team that's been, frankly, pretty terrible. So really Grandal and Bellinger, and then Lyles definitely makes some sense at that price. So Alex Wood on the other side is 10-1 on DraftKings. I mean, I always miss out on the Alex Wood games. I never really feel like he has much of a ceiling. It's reflected in his game logs. He's gone over 6 innings one time this year, and I think I'm fading him here at home. I know it's a good matchup, but I think he will be fairly heavily owned, and I like to pivot to Jake Odorizzi for $700 less. I think that's a much better tournament play than Alex Wood, who I think his upside is capped because of who he plays for. Villanueva is the one bat that I like targeting against Wood with. 3,700, just huge power, got a chance to go yard against Wood. And I think that's going to do it for both these slates. So we talked early, we talked Maine. Get to Osmo.com. We will have rankings and ownership and all that good stuff out for both slates. Check out the MLB strategy video on Monday. The live streams before lock at 6 Eastern most days. Hope you enjoyed this podcast and hope you got started for your research on Saturday. Enjoy the Memorial Day weekend.